Welcome to the All Blends Perfectly podcast. Keith, Ryan, Harrison, Coalition Properties, and friends talking about the intersection between lifestyle, real estate, culture, art, and everything in between because it all blends perfectly. Good day, good people, and welcome to another episode of It All Blends Perfectly. I'm Harrison Beecher, this is Ryan Butler, and that is Keith James. And today, Ryan is actually going to introduce our subject that we're talking about because it's something that is amongst us in conversation. So Ryan, please, what is on our minds and hearts today?
So we were talking about what subject we wanted to discuss on the podcast, and we came up with a lot of different topics, things that are important to us, things that we feel will give a lot of value to the audience. But one kind of recurring theme is, it's the middle of spring, or the beginning of spring market, and it gets crazy out there.
It does.
And when it gets crazy out there, what we find is that as a business owner and professional, you got to protect your peace.
Absolutely.
You got to protect your energy because this is an opportunity for it to get really out of whack because so many different people are coming at you and they're putting their emotions on you.
Right.
And a lot of times as realtors, we tend to play like kind of baby therapists, right?
Bro, it's real.
Yeah.
You tend to pay a little bit of like therapy. So you got to make sure that you're not taking on all the emotions of all your clients and all the people in your lives. In addition to your clients, you still got your family, you got your friends.
Facts.
People come to you for advice. So you still have to deal with those things. So I figured today that we just talk a little bit about what that looks like, how to deal with the emotions that come from clients, particularly around negotiations.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And how can we make sure that we keep our sanity and our peace?
And I think what makes a real estate sales professional and us specifically knowledgeable and qualified to talk about this is just the number of people that we have to interact with.
Absolutely.
And Keith, for you to kind of keep us going on this, what's it like having to field and manage and juggle all of the different stuff that people bring from their minds, from their hearts, from everything into a real estate transaction? What is that like?
Yeah, man. It can be tough sometimes where a lot of experiences are enjoyable. Right now I have 24 properties under contract, right? So that's 24 pendings, but I have about 10 people active out looking at homes, so I'm conversating with them as well. And just trying to make sure that they're okay and they're organized, as well as myself being organized with the different people that I'm talking to, right? Because it's different categories. I would say for me, just making sure I'm keeping my routines in order, waking up in the morning at 5 a.m., working out, like that's really from 5 to 9 is my peaceful state.
Yeah.
My phone is ringing off the hook at 9 a.m. So from 5 to 9, that's my time.
Yeah.
And I need that time. I'm not answering any calls before then at all, right? And so with that, the amount of people that I'm talking to, I probably talk to about 35 people, different people a day.
Yeah.
Right? That's a lot of people. That's a lot of emotions. That's a lot of energy. So just want to make sure that I'm doing the necessary things. And we call this is our therapy session.
Yeah,
Even at the end of the week, like we need this. We need these sessions because we are professionals. And I always tell people we wear many hats. We wear a lot of hats in this industry. And yeah.
And I think there's two parts to what you have a unique perspective on. One, the volume of people that you're helping out, but also just this time in the market right now, right? Right now in the world, right? There's a lot of uncertainty between banking, real estate, health, right? Figuring back out social stuff, family dynamics, and what we have to both hear and stomach and field and then return to folks back with advice is all of that baked into it, and figuring out how you can separate, because it's not easy. And I guess one message I want to say, and I want y'all to reinforce, tell me that I'm right, is that there is something kind of different brewing in how people approach decision making right now, how they approach their own mental health, how they approach their own balance. And it's okay to not be okay all the time, but I think you got to acknowledge and have a baseline of what's going on and just know how that's going to impact when you got to make big decisions.
Yeah, I think, and to the general point of we're trying to help manage our clients' like energy and emotional states, there's an exchange of energy that happens.
Absolutely.
So they're bringing energy to you, you're bringing energy to them. So when Keith talks to 35 people a day, that's energy he has to put A game.
Absolutely.
Like bring your A game. Like
Absolutely.
you don't get to take off.
Nah.
Like no matter how they feel.
Absolutely.
You don't get to take off. You got to bring your A game to them every time. So being able to have the stamina and the mental fortitude to make it through that on a daily basis is really difficult. And I mean, I'm always, we shout out each other. We love on each other a lot, but man, giving Keith, as Harris would say, giving him his flowers now.
Give him his flowers.
By being able to manage all of that, in addition to still being a dad of 3 kids.
And managing your own life.
Managing
your own stuff, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I pick up my daughter from school every day just about. I take her to school. And I have to be in the right mindset when I'm speaking with my family, my wife, my kids. I have to be, when I come into the house, when I open the garage up and I sit in my car for about a minute, 60 seconds, and I just debrief, and I walk into the house and I leave everything that was before outside. I leave it outside. I leave it at the door. So when I walk into my house, and that's my place of peace, I have to keep my place of peace peaceful at the end of the day.
Well, a little bit maybe on the opposite side of that. Sometimes you got to protect yourself from your family too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because they have their own emotions. They have things that they're going through.
Yep.
And when I was a younger agent, I mean, being an old agent is like not that long. It's like you've been in the business for a couple years and you're like, it's dog years, man.
Yeah, it
but
is.
One of the things about it is that if something was going on at home, it made me struggle functioning as a sales professional.
Right.
Getting out in the world, it's like I'm distracted. When you needed to bring all your energy needs to be focused on whoever you talk. You need to be present.
Yeah.
Got to be present.
Got to be present because when you're not present, the other person feels it.
Absolutely.
When I think we acknowledge the weight of what a real estate transaction is to somebody's family and life. Like this is like all the money they've got. This is where they're going to live. And the unique set of emotions I think that are connected to a real estate transaction are things like identity, right? Like the house I'm going to have is going to say something about me. So this is a big deal.
It's a huge deal.
And we've had clients in the past, right? Like I respect folks in consults when we have our new intake that will ask the question, well, how many other people are you working with and how well can you actually connect and support me? Because they got to feel with like certainty that we're going to be on top of, be aware, be in tuned with, and still be able to give them, like you said, no matter all the stuff that's going on, when you are locked in with them, paying attention, being focused, and giving them the advice they need. Because if you're not, the phrase is if you don't have enough in your cup, it is hard to fill up somebody else's cup and support them. So that's where the personal routine, the things you talked about, building out those kind of buffers. And I think segmentation is the best way to describe it, right? Like, how do I segment the things that have to go on in my personal life that I got to take care of? How do I segment these higher level difficult conversations I got to have with clients? And how do I segment the rest of the day, the stuff that I still got to do, even outside of all these deals going on? There's other business running, team running, operational stuff we got to do. So I think segmentation is something that more agents need to really lean into and understand better, because that's the only way that you can manage such a high volume of people and things going on in your life.
Well, there's three groups in your life that you have to deal with. Is your own self. That's one of the groups. Jinx. It's your own self that you have to so how the best way to say it, the people you have to lead.
Yeah.
The first person you have to lead is always yourself.
Correct.
So your miracle morning. Some of these terms that I feel like we've say them so often, we're indoctrinated with this concept.
Embedded.
But in the end, maybe everybody is not familiar with it. So having a morning routine that deals with your mental, right? Whether that's meditation or kind of getting you in the mood, that's dealing with your physical.
Yep.
So that's working out or stretching, yoga, whatever it is. Right. If you're eating food in the morning, your food intake, your supplements, dietary, that kind of thing.
Water.
Yep, water.
Absolutely.
And then spirituality, if that's the thing for you, like connecting with yourself, connecting with your higher power, whatever that is for you, and then connecting with your family. So all those like initial connections that allows you to be the best version of yourself in the morning, so that you can go out in the world and perform.
I can't express enough that morning routine, how important that is. And for me, I can't miss out on the wellness. I have to work out. I have to have think time for myself, right? And I have to pray at the end of the day, because we've been blessed.
Lord knows.
The Lord knows, right? The Lord knows.
Oh, Lord knows.
Right? We've been blessed with a lot. And my grandfather always used to say, you can be a star today and a nobody tomorrow. And that's factual, And I want to make sure that I'm doing everything I need to do to be successful for myself, for my family, for my partners, right? And also for my clients, right? Because when we're dealing with people who never thought they could have and never thought that this was even possible for them, we have to show up every day in the right manner for them. So I think it's important.
And that trust is not just something that is established initially in the consult or when the referral comes or whatever. It's how you show up and the things you say to them. And they ask us hard questions. And I can think of many times, like, and even amongst each other, we will then double check with the brain trust to be like, hey, this was a question proposed. Like, what do you think? How you respond to them, to that energy point earlier, is super important. If somebody is coming at you with a frantic, a concerned, a fearful energy, I challenge a lot of agents, and we talk with some of the agents on the team, to consider how you respond back.
Correct.
Because that's something that you can control. And getting freaked out or like kind of doubling down on that frantic or frenzied energy rarely gets to the right result or gets to the good thing happening, because you're often distracted by that frantic and frenzy to actually be able to see clearly what needs to happen.
Yeah, I just finished this book called The Power of One More by Ed Milet. And it's an amazing book for listeners out there who wants to go read that book. And he talks about in his early days when he was presented with frantic and on unorganized energy, how he used to react. He was very quick to respond. He was very, if he was met with bad energy, he gave bad energy. You know? And now and I learned this, when he's met with that, and when I'm met with that, I just take a step back and I read that message. I breathe, and I don't respond immediately.
Right.
You can't respond immediately, right? Because you have to be in tune with self.
Yeah, for sure.
Right? You have to be in tune with self before you give a response when you're met with that type of energy.
Bro, but this response to energy is in so many different places in life. For me, I think about it in sport too. If you are guarding somebody and you're in their head, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, think about what made you angrier than somebody that could get in your head, but they were calm, cool, and collected. Right? Right? And I always think of, all these different examples of people like that over the years that can maintain this stoicism and this separate thing. And I look at them like, how you do that, man? You getting them at this? Ooh, that is such a powerful thing. But I think for salespeople, like to give some specific advice to any of the agents that are consuming this today, Ryan, are there any tips you have for helping people not mirror back that same kind of either frantic or other energy? Keith talked about pausing, taking a second. What are some other ways people can manage what they put back out when they're getting some different energy?
I think acknowledging that person's feelings
absolutely
is really important.
Yeah.
Because no matter what they say and how they say it, everybody wants the same thing.
Right.
They want to be heard.
Right.
And they want to know you heard them versus them feeling like you're just talking at them. So the first thing is to acknowledge what their emotions are and really just accept it. That's the first thing. And then the second thing is you need to understand their personality profile.
Absolutely.
Because how you respond is going to dictate the next phase in your relationship with them. So if you don't respond in a manner where the first step was they want you to hear them. Right. But then you need to speak in a way where they can hear you.
Because you can say all the right stuff, but to that person, how they receive it can be everything.
100%. So you need to speak to them in a way that they can receive it. So it's going to be important. Sometimes that might just be a text message. Sometimes that's an email. Sometimes that's a phone call. And sometimes that's matching energy. And sometimes that's being a calming force, for them. So everybody's a little bit different. And being a professional is understanding, emotional intelligence. Not only for your clients, it's for yourself, right? Because in the end, a lot of things that's going on, they don't really mean it.
No.
They're just in the moment, and they have their own personal demons or devils that they're dealing with. And they might say some really mean things. They might say some things and they might not be true.
Right.
Or even on the side where, clients might fire you or clients might go with someone else and you did nothing wrong.
Right.
You were there for them. You did all the work and you showed up for them, and then they just bounced.
And that happens even to us. That happens to us. That happens to the highest level performers.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Absolutely.
And having the humility to see if you can get them back.
Right.
That's one thing, right?
Yeah.
That's one thing that I think I learned a little bit early on. If I lost a client, it's like, what can I do to make this work?
Right.
And pride, pride is the devil, man.
Pride is the devil.
Pride goes before destruction. So your pride will be in the way of your greatness. Your pride will be in the way of your work.
Yeah.
Being able to do the work. So it's important for you to put your pride aside. And that in itself is a skill in and of itself.
Such a skill.
It is.
I mean, that is hard to do, especially the better you become at something.
Yeah.
The more your pride want to sneak up there.
Because your pride is like, hey, we know how to do this. We are really good at this. We are elite.
Yeah.
And they don't see that?
Are you
I
kidding
can't
me?
believe it. Yeah.
Yeah.
You gonna talk to me like that?
Like that, I think that is very important with that pride and just making sure. And we talk about like being in tune with self, right? The more you are in tune with yourself, the more you can communicate effectively to others. And I think the better that we've become. I mean, I think our brain trust and our power, like the way we bounce ideas off each other, makes us spectacular. And so for us, even dealing with other agents, in the field, we're like, well, why are you doing it this way? And when you're working with agents who don't have transaction coordinators, and I know one of your biggest things are showing time feedback and how they show up.
Just simple.
Talk a little bit about, Harrison, dealing with agents in the marketplace and how that is and how you show up to them with their when you're met with negative energy.
So you're speaking to be confirmation here. Initially, we were kind of talking about ourselves and how to protect our energy. Now we're moving to the next phase of this, is that we're dealing with clients. How do we communicate with clients and, that exchange of energy? But in our business, we also have relationships with our cooperating agent.
Yep, with our peers in the business. Yep.
So now you're going to speak a little bit about what it's like to work with the other side.
Yeah, man, because
that's heavy because you got to do it because that's part of negotiations, right?
Yeah. And if y'all remember, one of my main themes when I was G-Car president a couple years ago,
level up,
man.
Level up.
And in so many ways, it was something that you get your little Sierra dance. Level up. In so many ways, the people on the agent side in between a transaction can intentionally sometimes, intentionally other times, allow themselves, their assumptions, the speed that they're going too fast, to get in the way of the ultimate goal, which is getting a deal done and meeting other minds and finding ways to collaborate and make it work. So when I'm talking with either other agents, when I talk to our whole association, when I talk with our team, the first thing I'll say is take a step back for a second and remember that our main goal is to find a solution. Our main goal is to find a space in between, somewhere we can actually work together. Because if there is no agreement, there's no transaction. Everybody loses. So if you first, in the midst of any frustrating or whatever situation, realize that our goal is actually to find common ground, that changes how you show up. Because there's some folks that come with either a chip on your shoulder, which can be good or bad, with
absolutely.
Past assumptions, or with to the extreme with some racism, or I don't know you, or some other things they bring into it. These are people in transactions. I think when everybody is getting deep into either those distracting factors that like pull on your emotions, pull on how you communicate and talk, you got to take a step back first and be like, look, we want to get the deal done. In the mindset of saying, I want to get the deal done first, how can I best facilitate and be humble, throw my pride to the side, right? Which is hard, because pride in a lot of ways as a salesperson can help motivate you. It can drive you. It can make the consult or that first point of contact the reason why somebody wants to get with you. But it takes some self-awareness and some situational awareness on top of that emotional intelligence to know when is the right time to turn on the different parts of me to get the job done. Because when people are leaning too much into one part, or respectfully, when people have not had enough experience and they think that I just got to come in with the excitement and the hype and I'm playing the part of what I think a realtor should be. Energy. Yeah, I'm bringing the wrong energy to it. I'd argue that experience and enough reps, like this is where working with somebody experienced is better, because we've seen enough of all of these different types of transactions and people and interactions that we know when to turn on the different parts and turn them up and down. And I think that's the biggest piece for agents, is knowing the different times to use the different tools in your kind of emotional personality and communication skill set.
Well, that's why they call it a co-op.
Right.
Yeah.
It's co-op agent. That means we're trying to cooperate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't get a deal done if nobody's cooperating and no one is meeting in the middle.
I think that's where, we're dealing with dealing with clients, but when we deal with agents, I think that's where at the time when when ego really comes into play is on the agent front. I've had agents, that I'm dealing with on the other side. Keith, I know you're a rock star. I know you've done this. And so they show up with this, oh no, like, this is who I am.
Yeah.
And
you got to flex. They got to puff up on you a little bit.
Yeah. I can care less about that, right?
Yeah.
I want to cooperate to do what's best for my client and also your client.
Yeah.
At the end of the day.
Yep.
And with some people, that is more communication. With some people, it's less. And this is where, like, agents, I think, need to. And this is the benefit of things like our local, state, and national associations. The more I have the chance to know who you are first,
right,
the more I can, like, get past this barrier of assumptions or what I read about you or what I've seen in terms of your production.
Yeah.
And we can just talk.
Yeah.
Right. And get to it and be like, hey, what's really going on here? And what I will say is you can't, or at least with me personally, please don't try to jump ahead like we already homies and boys if I don't know you or friend. Like, I'm just, because people
may
do that.
sometimes want to know you and be your homie.
And I want you, and I'm cool with it, but, like, there's a line. There's cordial, there's professional, there's prepared.
That's ego.
And then there's, like,
it is.
That's ego.
No, hear me out.
Ego.
But hear me out. If you are coming with the spirit, right, of trying to connect, collaborate, and build relationship all day, but if you're coming with an assumption or a presumption that you can be cool in this and you don't either know me, you don't know the property, you haven't, like, done the work too, and you're bringing a crappy deal, that's not helpful. That's BS. Because I'm not going to show up.
That's factual.
I'm not going to show up to somebody that I don't know, I don't have, and act like there's something extra I'm owed just because I want it real bad. And I don't think that's right. I mean,
no. That's
if
fair.
that is.
That's fair. It's a little bit of both of them, though.
Feature, yeah. Now that you broke it down like that.
Well, I think one of the things is that when you're coming up as a new agent, you have to convince yourself that you're gonna be better than everybody else. Because in the beginning, you don't have any skills. So what do you have?
Yeah.
All you have
Confidence,
is you got
effort.
time, effort, and so your whole sales pitch is that I will outwork anybody else.
Yeah.
Like that's most agents,
it should be.
And you should. That's
and
how
you
it
should.
That's how it should
and
be.
that's in general. But that's the attitude people take. And when they meet, agent meets another agent, it's like, I'm the best because I'm always available. I will always outwork. Like that's that mindset, energy you bring. And to be fair, there's some positives from that.
Absolutely.
There's some really strong positives from that. There needs to be an evolution though, because with that, what happens is you probably need it for confidence.
Yeah.
But at some point, that confidence gets paired with that ego. You do need confidence in your skill, in your profession, everything else. And the reason why you have that confidence, because this is a business where to be successful in this business, you need a yes less than 10% of the year.
Yeah.
Baseball, if you batted 300, you're Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Right.
You 1 for 3, Hall of Fame. I mean, you make the major leagues in real estate by going 1 for 10.
Yeah, 1,000.
Facts.
No, wait, sorry. 100.
Yeah, batting 100 at real estate.
Yeah.
I mean, you can even bat probably
50. Yeah. And with high price points. Yeah, neighborhoods with high price
For
points.
sure.
Yeah.
And so I think it's important to kind of to keep that in mind. Like, yes, you do need that confidence, and you probably need a little bit of ego in the beginning to help you get over that
100%.
hump.
Yeah.
Because I think J. Cole was talking about the other day. He was like, you have to be unrealistic, believing in yourself that I could make it in music.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And it's the same thing in real estate, because most people don't make it. Most people out of business in 3 years.
Yeah, 30% attrition rate.
What happens is
70% attrition.
What happens is with that, Ryan, is that you have that ego and you have that confidence, but you don't work on the skills.
Yep.
Right? And you win with ego and confidence.
Because you can't win
And you
with
forget
that.
about the skill set because you're winning.
And
Right?
you're doing a lot of it, but are you actually, like, working on the craft in the lab, getting better, studying, learning your neighborhoods, learning all
like
of that?
Kobe said, man, I was so great because in the off season I worked harder than I did when I was in season.
Yeah.
So what are you doing to work for, agents that are out there? what are you doing to work on your skill set? Because it's going to be to a certain point, you're going to have a cap on that confidence and ego, right? You got to work on your skills.
It can only take you so far.
It can only take you so far.
And sometimes you might be hitting a ceiling and you don't know why you're hitting that ceiling.
Right.
And more than likely, it's because of your ego. And we know that from an Asian perspective, the first ego hit after you get into production is, I can do this all by myself.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
I can do it all.
I don't need nobody else. Yeah.
I don't need nobody else.
I can be bad all by myself.
I can be bad all by myself.
And really, we know that, in anything in life, you're always standing on the shoulders of giants.
Absolutely.
You need somebody's help.
Absolutely.
You need somebody's help, whether that's the other agent, whether that's your client, whether that's your peers, whether that's the vendors that you use, whether that's your brokerage. Like, you got to be leaning on them. So I think it's important to just keep that in mind.
And connecting it all back to this conversation around energy and even where that empowers you to show up in different ways, the better prepared people are, right? The more time you are actually putting into the lab, the more confidence you have in how you can show up better when you communicate with people. Like, the reason why you can manage that high volume of conversations with folks and manage them effectively is you have experienced, or we have experienced in this brain trust, whatever they're going to come across.
100%.
Right? So you are, even if you don't know the exact answer, you can speak with confidence that I will be able to get to that answer quickly. And that's to that point of nobody succeeding alone. That's where, like, having the power of a team, the power of a mentor, the power of somebody in your world can change your energy, and should change your energy, because it allows you to take a step back from this frantic fear and I have no idea what to do next perspective that a lot of clients have right now.
Yeah.
To say, there is a solution. We're going to work to find the solution. And guess what? Even if we can't find the solution, we're going to get so close to it, or we've got enough support to navigate and figure out what we do next. And I feel like more salespeople need to be empowered and need to be thoughtful with answers like that, instead of a fearful sprint or getting bullied into just saying whatever or doing whatever the client says without having some good context on how to navigate.
Well, that ego is accompanied with fear.
Yeah.
Ego and fear go hand in hand.
Hand in hand.
Yeah.
And it's a weird dichotomy, because in some ways, maybe you need it. But in some ways, it does not do you any justice.
At all.
To feel like you're the best, but also feel like you're not good enough at the same time. I mean, what a weird,
That's a weird combo, man.
a weird combo. But I know I feel that a lot. Some days I feel like, man, I'm like, I was meant for this. Like, I was made for this.
Yeah.
And some days I'm like, man, I'm just trying to get out of bed today.
Just trying to survive, bro.
Just trying to survive. Like, what happened? Did it pass me by?
Right.
Yeah.
I thought I was meant for this. So kind of that back and forth, but it keeps you working.
Yeah.
It keeps you working on your craft, or either you're gonna have to, like, dwell with that feeling. You can either dwell with your feeling and kind of wallow, or you can dwell with it, and then
Take action.
take action and get better.
That's why we've been successful in this business, because we've been vulnerable with our businesses. What are asking the right questions? What are our gaps? What are our weaknesses? And as a newer agent, or an agent that's out here that's trying to make it, you have to be vulnerable with your business. You have to ask questions. And like you said, you do need someone, right? Whether it's a mentor. And when you're going to the mentor, make sure you're asking the right questions.
Yeah.
Whether it's from a part of negotiations, where how do I grow my business?
Yep.
Because the biggest egos I've seen out here, they've hit their cap. Yeah. They've hit that cap
100%,
because they were not vulnerable with their businesses, and they did not ask questions.
And that's just honest about a natural ceiling that a lot of folks have. And let's also being honest, sometimes where that natural ceiling is great.
Yeah.
You live a great life staying right there.
Yeah, for
but
sure.
like, you talk about a transcendent change, or like growth beyond just what you're able to do yourself. Like, that takes both some humility, understanding ego, checking the pride, and being willing to say, I don't know. And I'm preparing to talk to the folks around me, or pour into the folks around me that can help me find an answer, find a solution.
Well, I have a question for you guys. How do you deal with the emotional side of losing?
Ooh.
How do you deal with losing? I know that when I lose, I struggle, because
You're competitive.
I'm super competitive. You probably hear a theme. I don't like to lose, even when I'm playing.
Yeah.
I don't even like anything. And so I take losing like really hard.
Yeah.
And what I've found is that when I look at my weaknesses, one of my weaknesses, my ability, the speed in which I bounce back from a loss.
Yeah.
Because the speed in which you bounce back from a loss is going to determine your success.
Recovery. Champions
Like recovery.
recover fast.
That's in any space, right?
Fastest, yeah.
Like when people take steroids, for example, in sports,
It's recovery.
it's most of the, like people think it's to get bigger and stronger. It's like, no, it's the ability to recover fast so you can do more.
Yeah.
It's your ability to do more. So how do you guys deal with loss and recovery?
Yeah, I mean, for me, these guys know I'm a super optimistic person, right? And sometimes that could be too good and sometimes it can be bad. But with losses, I think you wouldn't have lost if you never tried. You were in the game. And changing the way you look at things, the things you look at will change. The fact that you had the opportunity to be in the game right there is a blessing, period, right? And yeah, you're going to take some losses. And in order to be great, it's better to look back at that loss and analyze why you lost, because once you find the answer to that, you're going to be better on the next deal. You're going to be better on the next deal. So what I do, I go back and I look, what could I acknowledge myself first? What could I have done better myself? And it could have been one sentence that I forgot to mention. Just one. Write that sentence down. Make sure I never go in the next conversation with the same situation without saying that one sentence, period. Right? So just looking back and reflecting on that conversation and reflecting on that relationship or reflecting on that offer that you put in that could have been better, man, write that stuff down, move on to the next. That's all you can do. But you were in the game, man. You were in the game. And that opportunity right there in itself is a blessing.
Brother Beecher?
I'm gonna be honest, man. I ain't lost that much. And here's the problem with that. 2022 was a year of unprecedented challenges in every facet, right? A new baby trying to figure that out. Got like for the first time some different kind of financial challenges with money and cash flow and IRS and other people and business. We remember we had a month more fall through than we had ever seen before.
Yeah.
And the problem with things just kind of working before and why they work so well, and my answer is kind of wrapped around here. The best protection against loss, the best protection against loss is having enough other options and activities going on so that that's individual pain of that loss does not hurt so much it distracts you away from continuing to work. When agents on the team, when there's something they miss out, or just agents in general reach out to us and they lose out on a deal, and it really hurts them because if it doesn't close, they don't really know where the money's coming from. Like they are so close to not having anything else that individual loss stings so much.
Right.
So I think the biggest answer to protecting yourself from loss is building enough activities around having things going on so that if you do lose or miss out, it doesn't hurt so much that you are like pulled away and you are in pain by that loss. For me, when I've had that year of loss, kind of similar to what Keith said, taking a moment to kind of analyze and look at what happened and be critical, realizing that it is always me for the most part of something I could have or should have done differently, and taking a chance to learn from it too. Like being honest, being humble, putting pride to the side, saying that like, what could I have done different? What should I have done different? How could that one little adjustment made a difference? And also being able to like have a moment, like a season of loss or change or transition forces all of us to look at life different when it's a different rhythm. And I think the older you get, everybody goes through different seasons of life. You just have to realize that it's not always going to be a winning spree all the time. And that for me, like what happened end of 2022, beginning of this year, I know has made me both a better partner, father, realtor, everything, because now I have more empathy for folks that have had seasons of back-to-back challenge, loss, frustration. Because until you have that, I don't think you're positioned to actually do a big breakthrough or lead people, because that's just a part of the human experience, you know?
100%.
And it's like the same thing we tell clients. And this is the most super cliche thing ever, but I always tell clients, what's for you is for you, period. And we've sold over 1,500 homes, and I guarantee every single time what was for that client, was for that client at the end of the day. And sometimes things aren't just for you.
It's just not.
It's just not. and it's hard to accept because we are winners. We are competitors.
Oh yeah.
If you
we attract winners. We attract winners in the world, so they feel the same way.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But sometimes relationships, partnerships, alignment, it's not for you sometimes, and you just have to really realize that, right? You have to, and the more you realize that, the better off you're going to be, because you're going to be able to bounce back and say, okay, this wasn't for me. Let's move on to the next, and let's go get it.
And if can I point out one thing about Keith? I want to hear yours. What makes you special and have a higher capacity to do more business and serve more people is your ability to speak confidence into them.
Absolutely.
To keep moving forward. Because in any context, in business, in life, whatever, when you experience the loss, when you experience a setback, and you wallow in it, right? There's a difference between analyzing what happened, paying attention, and doing some film study to get better.
Absolutely.
And just staying in like, oh man, this sucks. This is painful.
Recover.
You got to recover. Or you have to force yourself to keep moving. Get back in the habit. Get back up the next morning. Keep, there's so many like sports analogies to work with it, but you are so good at keeping people focused on movement and progress, because if you stay in wallow, you're never going to do anything.
Yeah, and also I know what it feels like to not have had before. You know what I mean? And I know when I'm talking with clients and talking with different people, the margin for error is very slim. The margin for error is very slim. And speaking that into them and making them believe that, sometimes they come to me and they don't believe.
Yeah.
But in order to go through this process, you have to believe. And that's why I say peace of mind and good energy is everything going through this process. And you cannot put a price tag on peace of mind.
Yeah.
You got to have peace of mind. And that's peace of mind for me as the agent and peace of mind for you as the client.
Yeah.
And making sure we are aligned.
Yeah.
And if we are aligned, we're going to win together.
Yeah, period. And you speak that, and you let them know that is going to happen when you follow the system. From the amount of reps that we have had doing this at every different level, we're going to do everything in our power to ensure that you have a high probability of success the first time. But if you don't, right, you're going to be okay, because there's going to be another house, right? You're going to figure it out. Rates up and down, inventory up and down, like folks who are focused. Like, what did Coach Uselak say back in the day? I'm not shouting him out, but had a coach back in the day. His phrase was, those who stay will be champions. Those who stay will be champions. If you bail, if you freak out, if you're this, you're that, you're not going to, you have no opportunity to accept the win at some point if you're not there.
You can't win if you're not playing the game.
Yeah.
If you're not in the game.
Yeah.
And when you get out of the game,
yeah,
there's no chance for you to win more or win again.
Yeah.
Right.
So we've had a great conversation around protecting our peace, protecting our energy, also how to deal with the emotional baggage that comes with both clients, co-op agents, even our own team members, even our own families.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, kind of to wrap it up, there's a couple things that came into mind that I think helps with the success. One is being able to deal with rejection. And your ability to deal with rejections, based off what I'm hearing, is basically go get the next W.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Go get more wins. If you got enough wins, if you have one loss and you only, swung one time, you 0 for 1.
Yep.
Yeah.
But if you had 100 fights or 100 matches and you won 99, you lost one, yeah, the one sucks, but it's not as bad because you got 99 the others you won.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I'm hearing, maybe from all of us together, right?
Yep.
The second thing I would say is that we talked about having resilience on it, being able to move forward even when things are tough.
Yeah.
Being able to bounce back quickly from rejection, from that feeling of rejection, from that feeling of loss, from those emotional draining things that are happening to you, and not sit and wallow, but be able to get back up as quickly as possible, because the faster you recover, the faster you're, the more successful you're going to be.
Yeah.
Because you're going to take in a lot of rejection, a lot of losses. Mm-hmm. So the faster you recover from them, the better it's going to be from you. And then the last thing I would say is you can be winning at some parts of your life and losing at other parts of your life. Absolutely. And just understanding that there are multiple parts to life, and you're not always going to have a perfectly balanced winning across the board.
Right.
But you're going to have that mental toughness and resilience and deal with rejections in different parts, and just be okay with everything not being perfect in your life. I think that's the fundamental thing. Everything's not going to be perfect. So, man, what a conversation. This was my therapy session. You guys know why I was talking about this anyway, because took a couple L's recently, and it never feels good when I do.
Yeah.
So I'm grateful for you guys.
Dope.
Likewise, brother.
Well, thank you for bringing up the conversation point, man. Thank you for everything that both of y'all gentlemen shared in this today. You can find at All Blends Perfectly is our Instagram profile. We are on YouTube as well, on Spotify, all platform streaming. Our sales team is at Coalition Properties. I am at HL Beach. He is at Ryan Butler Hoya. He is at Keith James Realtor, and he verified. Yeah, I verified. Blue check. Blue check, Jimmy K.
Hey, finally.
Took him long enough.
Overdue.
Thanks, man.
But thank you all so much for tapping into the convo. Appreciate you. 5 stars, gleaming review. Share it to all your friends. And we are so grateful for you being a part.
Subscribe.
Of the All Blends Perfectly podcast. Thank you.
Peace.